Hey everyone, welcome to SFDC Stop, and in this video we are going to learn about custom validation in Lightning Web Component. We are also going to understand about regular expressions, and we'll see how we can apply regex, how we can create and apply regex in various fields that we want to validate in our contact form. Okay, so this is a very simple component that I have created. This is nothing but a very simple contact form in which you can enter your first name, last name and some other information, and you can click on sign up, and your data will be saved in Salesforce. Although our main focus right now is just to see how we can implement custom validation in Lightning Web Components, so we'll not be dealing with Apex part here, but we'll see how we can implement custom validation in all these fields. So as of now, this is just a very simple form in which I can fill in some data. So if you see here, I have filled in some dummy data, and as I click on sign up, it is going to display me the details that I have filled in an object. Okay, so it is going to store all this information in an object, and it will console.log the information. So if I click on sign up, you can see here that this object is created where all the information that I have filled in the form is available to me, and I can just send it to Apex and save it in Salesforce. So let's see how we can implement validations for different fields. So as of now, all the fields are required, and let me just show you the code as well. So this is a very simple code in which we have a lightning card with the title as sign up, and we have multiple fields, and each field is having a same class which is known as validate. So this is important for validation purposes. That's why we have added a class which is known as validate. Although the class name doesn't matter, you can enter any kind of name. But the thing which is to be noted is that every field should have the same class, because I'm going to use a loop in my JavaScript to check for each field validity. The same class for each and every field is going to assure me that I'm getting all the fields when I'm trying to pull the fields or HTML elements using this particular class. So if you see, the first name field is also required, last name field, sorry, the password field is also required, email field is also required. So I have specified required attributes to all the fields. So all the fields are required except the pin code field, which is not required. So let's see how we can implement some validations in all these fields one by one, and we'll see what kind of regex we can apply and how we can validate these fields. One more thing which is to notice, which is implemented right now, is that I have specified a pick list here as well. So this is nothing but a combo box which is for country. So for this particular combo box, I have specified country options, which is nothing but a variable or an array that I have defined in my JavaScript, and it is having a label and a value. So this is the syntax which is supported by Lightning combo box. It should have a label and a value. So I have just specified a label and a value, and this syntax is being used to display all the countries in the combo box. So I have just hard coded this for now, although you can also create a different JavaScript library or a reusable library of your own to keep these kind of things. And this is the contact object that I was displaying in the console when I clicked on that button. So let's have a look at the JavaScript code first of all that we have implemented, and once we are done with this, we'll see how we can implement regex as well. So in order to understand the JavaScript code, what I have done, on clicking of sign up button, I'm calling this method which is known as create contact. And if I show you this method create contact, what it is doing, it is just checking if the input is valid, and if the input is valid, this is going to display me the contact object. So the contact object is automatically populated within this function, which is checking the validity of the input. And in case the input is valid, I'm going to display the contact object, and this contact object is defined right here above, and it is going to store all the information about the contact. So what's happening right now, if I just don't do anything and if I click on sign up button, you can see that I'm getting all these errors that you have to complete this field. And if you see the inspect element as well, I should not get anything in the console. So there's nothing in the console on clicking of sign up button, because I haven't added the information over there, and the input is not valid. So let's see what this method is doing. Is input valid? Inside this is input valid method, I have specified a very simple boolean attribute which is true by default, which is specifying that the input is valid. Then I'm getting all my fields which is having a validate class, because I need to validate all these fields which are having a validate class, right? That's why we have taken this particular class. So I'm getting all the fields by using query selector all. So this .template.query selector all is going to get me reference of all the HTML fields that are defined with the class as validate. And once I have an array of these fields, I'm going to iterate over these fields. So I'm using a for each loop to iterate over these fields. And for each and every field, what I'm doing, I'm checking the validity of the field, that if this field is valid or not. So all the fields that are defined in the Lightning namespace, I mean all the input tags that are defined in the Lightning namespace, they are having this method which is known as check validity, using which you can check whether the input field is valid or not. So it doesn't matter if it's Lightning input or if it's Lightning combo box, they all are a part of the form. They all can be used inside a form, right? So they all support this method, which is known as check validity, and it will return me true or false depending upon whether the input that I have added in that field, depending upon what kind of regex I have applied or whether it is required or not. So it will just return me a boolean whether that input field is valid or not. So I'm just checking that if any of the input field is not valid, so that's why I have added a not condition over here, that in case any of the input field is not valid, I'm going to report that validity on that particular input field. So what it is going to do, it is going to make that field red, or it is going to display the error message right here. So report validity method is basically going to define the or display the error message which I have written in case it's a custom message. Otherwise it is going to display the standard message, for example, complete this field, and it is also going to specify is valid as false. So in case any of my input field out of all the input fields which are having the same class is not valid, I'm going to report that particular field validity and I'm going to make this boolean variable as false. And in case everything is going good, what I'm doing, I'm just populating my contact object. So this contact object is going to take the name field, or I can say the name attribute of the input field as a key, and it is going to have the value attribute of the input field as a value. And if you see, for each particular input field I have different names like first name, password, email, country, last name, company, phone, and pin code, right? So these names are going to be the key inside the object, and the value is definitely going to be the value for that particular key. And in case everything is good, this contact object is automatically populated, and I'm displaying this contact object right here. So I have just added some dummy data right here, and if you see, as I click on sign up, it is going to display me the object. And if you see, all the keys inside this object, which is first name, last name, password, phone, company, country, are nothing but the names inside the fields, which is first name, password, email, country, like this. So all these name attributes are basically used as the keys inside the object, and all the value attributes, which is definitely going to return me the value of the input field, these are used as the values, and that's how this object is populated. And finally, I'm just going to pass it to Apex and do everything that I want to do, or save it in Salesforce. So this is all about the JavaScript that we have created. And now we just need to add some other checks inside our HTML itself, so that those checks are also being taken care of whenever this check validity method is called. Okay, so it will automatically see what kind of checks I have added in my input field, and it will take care of those. So let's start by updating our email field first of all, because we need to check that whether the email that we are entering is correct or not. It is a very common use case because email field is something which is very popular in all the forms that we create, and we need to validate, and we should validate on the client side as well, that whether the email that we are entering is in the specified format or not. Because let's say even if I write something like Richard only, then also it will be considered as a valid email, I guess. Okay, so it is not a valid email, but let's say if I add the rate and I click on sign up, or let's say this, yeah, so it is considered, but it is not a valid email, right? It should have .com or something like that. So I mean, some of the things are automatically handled, but not all the things are handled. So we need to take care of that, and these things are also handled only because I have specified a type as email here. So let's see how we can update our email field. In order to validate our email field, we need to define a regex, and a regex is nothing but a regular expression. And if I explain you in simple terms what is a regular expression, it is nothing but a pattern that you define in order to validate the input. So in case your input is matching that particular pattern which you define, then it is a valid input, otherwise the input is invalid. So let's define first of all some rules that need to be taken care of while adding an input for our email field. Okay, so I can simply say that our email field can have the characters between A to Z, which is small a to z. It can also have the characters between capital A to Z, so this is also valid, right? Apart from this, I think I can say that my email can also contain 0 to 9, because it is possible that you are having numbers in your email, right? So this is also a valid input. And after that, I can say that I can also have a dot, so I can have some special characters as well. For example, dot is very common in case of email. I can say that I can also have an underscore in my email. Let me just use spaces instead of commas to separate these, so that it's more clear. So we can also have an underscore in the email, and after that I can say that I can also have a hyphen in the email, right? So these are the valid characters I can say which are supported by my email field. In the second rule, I can say that I should have a @ in my email because this is required. So it is a required character that I should have in my email. Okay. So in the third rule, I can define that after @ I can have something like small a to z. So it is very uncommon. I don't think that I have seen any kind of email which is having capital A to Z after @. So let's say if I define an email as rahul@sfdcstop.com. So in this case, I'm not going to have any capital letters after the @, right? So I should have only small letters. And I can also have some characters like 0 to 9, because it is also possible that your domain is something which is sfdcstop123.com, right? So 0 to 9 are also possible. And let's say I can also have a hyphen. Okay, so this is something which I can have after the add rate. After that, I can say that I should have a dot, because after add rate I can have these characters, and after these characters I can have a dot, or I should have a dot. This is a mandate. And after the dot, what I can have some characters between small a to z, which will specify this, like .com, .in, etc. And this small a to z should have the count which should be greater than or equal to 2. So I can say that the count for this small a to z, so the count should be greater than or equal to 2, because let's say even if the smallest domain that I consider, it should have like .in, right, or .ca, something like that. So I think this is good, right? That after dot you should have only a to z, so there's not going to be any kind of number over here, but the count should be greater than or equal to 2, and that's how I think our rules are complete. So this is how I think we can define an email field, or we can define rules for an email field. Now let's see how we can create a regex for this. Defining a regex is very simple. All you need to do is to define these rules and write down in the format of regex. So in the regex format, we can specify different, I can say different parts in different brackets. Okay. So in one bracket, I can say that my characters can be between a to z. So I'm just considering rule number 1 right here, that I can have characters between a to z. I can also have capital letters, so I can have also characters between a to z. So the order doesn't matter. You can have this before and you can have this after as well. Okay. So I can have capital A to z. I can have small a to z, and I can also have 0 to 9. So this is also the case. After that, I can also have dot. I can also have underscore, and I can also have a hyphen, right? So these all are the valid characters that I can have as per rule number 1. And I can have one or more characters which are considered in this range, right? So let's say if I consider this email, rahul@sfdcstop.com, I can say that there are 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5 characters which are obeying this rule. Okay. So in order to specify that I can have one or more characters, what I'm going to do, I'm going to add a plus here, which specifies that I can have one or more characters which are specified under the bracket, which is before the plus. Okay. So I can have one or more characters under this range. After that, what we are going to have, we are going to have an add rate, right? So an add rate is required, so this will remain as it is. And after the add rate, again I can have some characters. So again I'm going to specify a bracket, and I'm going to say that I can have characters between a to z. I'm going to have characters between 0 to 9, and I'm also going to have a hyphen. And after that, I can again add a plus, which will specify that I can again have one or more characters after add rate, which are obeying this particular rule. Okay. So this is the rule number 3 that we have defined under this. So once the rule number 3 is defined, I can say that I can have a dot, and in order to specify the dot, I also need to add an escape character right here, which is required because a dot is a reserved character in regex, and this dot in regex is basically used to specify a single character. So let's say I can only have one character, so I am going to use a dot. But in our case, our dot is nothing but a character that we need to match, right? So that is why I'm just escaping it using the escape character. So this is a universally like escape character. We use it in strings as well, right? So I'm just going to escape this dot, and after that I'm going to specify that after the dot I'm going to have this a to z, right? So I'm going to specify that I can have small a to z, and what can I have? I can have a count which is greater than or equal to 2 for this particular small a to z. So what can I do? I can specify a curly brace here, and I can say that my count should start with 2 and it can go till anywhere. So I'm not going to specify anything right here because there is no upper limit, but I'm specifying that the count should start with 2, and that's it. And at the end, I'm going to specify a dollar sign here because a regex usually always ends with a dollar sign. So this is the final regex that I have created. And if you see, I can divide this regex into 5 parts according to the 5 rules that we have created. So this is my rule number 1. After that, I have an add rate, which is rule number 2. This is my rule number 3. This is my rule number 4. And this is my rule number 5. Okay. So let's have this regex. I'm going to copy this and I'm going to use it in my email field. So what can we do? We can use the pattern property of the email because we are specifying a pattern. So I can use the pattern property, and I can specify my regex right here. So I have defined a pattern, and what if in case the pattern is not valid? So what I can do, I have a property which is named as message when pattern mismatch. If you see message when pattern mismatch, I'm going to choose this, and I'm going to specify my error message. So in case the pattern is not valid, it is going to or I can say the input is not valid according to the pattern specified, it is going to specify this message. So I'm going to say please enter a valid email, and that's it. Okay, that's it. So let's save this and let's see if it works fine. So I'm just going to refresh this page once, and I'm going to enter an email. So if you remember earlier, this email was valid, richard@a. This was working fine, right? But if you see now, I'm getting an error message that please enter a valid email. So this email is not valid. In case I add a dot, again it is not valid. In case I add a com here, then it is a valid email because it is following the pattern, and it is satisfying all the rules that we have defined in the pattern, right? In case I remove all things from here, then also it is not a valid email. In case I say that the last character is one length long, so I mean it is one character long, right? In this case also it is not a valid email because I should have at least 2 characters. So in case I do it co, in this case it's a valid email, right? So this is how I have defined regex for email, and all the other properties are satisfied. You can have numbers right here, and you can have numbers right here as well. So this is valid, but you cannot have numbers right here. So this is invalid. Okay. So everything is working fine, and this is how we have defined a very simple regex for our email. So all we need to do is to specify a pattern, and we have also specified an error message in case the pattern is not matched. Now let's see how we can enter a validation for our phone field. Okay, so we have done for the email. Let's check out the phone now. Again, we are going to prepare a regex for phone, and I'm going to specify a set of rules. So let's say these were the rules for email, and now I'm going to specify some set of rules for phone. So what can we say for phone? I think let's keep it simple. In case of phone, I'm going to say that I should have a phone number in this particular format. Let's say I should have phone number like 123 and then 456 and then 7890, the standard format like we have of phone numbers. Okay, so it should have like 10 numbers, and it should have something like 3 numbers and then a hyphen, and then again 3 numbers, then a hyphen, and then again 3 numbers. I think you can guess how we can prepare regex for this because we have already prepared it for email, but let me prepare it quickly. So what we are going to do, we are going to say that our rules are something like this. First of all, we should have 3 numbers in the range of 0 to 9, and then we should have an hyphen, and the third rule say that we should have again 3 numbers in the range of 0 to 9. Again I'm going to have a hyphen, and then I should have 4 numbers, right, in the range of 0 to 9, and that's it. This is what the rules are saying for valid phone number. Right now, if you see, I can enter any kind of phone and I can enter any kind of numbers, it's fine. So this is a valid phone number. So what we can do, let's prepare a regex for this. I'm going to say in my regex that first of all, I can have numbers between 0 to 9. So these are considered, and I can only have the count of these numbers as 3. So if you remember, in case of email, we also did something like this, that it should have a minimum of 2 and a maximum of any number of characters. In this case, I'm saying I can only have 3 characters which are specified in the brackets. So according to this particular rule, I can only have 3 characters. After 3 characters, I should have a hyphen, and then again I should have numbers between 0 to 9. Again, it should be only 3 characters. Again, I need to have a hyphen, and again I can have characters between 0 to 9, and this time I should have 4 characters, and I think that's it, right? That's it. So this is what my regex is, and in case I divide my regex again according to the rules, the first rule is this, which is 3 numbers between 0 to 9. Second rule is a hyphen. Third rule is 3 numbers between 0 to 9. Fourth rule is again a hyphen. Fifth rule is 4 numbers between 0 to 9. So that's how my phone regex is created, and let me use it. So let's say for phone field, we are going to have a pattern. So our pattern will be this, and we can also say that message when pattern mismatch, and I can say right here, please enter a valid phone number. Okay, number, that's it. Let's see. So my email field is working fine. Let me enter a invalid phone number first of all, and let's see. Please enter a valid phone number. Let's say I enter 10 characters, 9090909090. Again, it is not valid. In case I have 3 characters and then a hyphen, again 3 characters and then a hyphen, and something like this, and 4 characters at the end. Now it is a valid phone number. In case I'm not having this number, I'm having a, it is not a valid phone number because I should have something between 0 to 9, right? In case I'm having a 4, it is a valid phone number. So you can see that now my input is matching the pattern, and then only it is valid, otherwise it is an invalid input. So in this case, instead of just saying that please enter a valid phone number, you can also specify an error message which says that please enter a phone number in the format which is like specifying some dummy phone number like 000-000-000 like this, right? So you can also specify a phone number like this so that it's clear for the user that which kind of format it should use. For example, in this case, it is specifying that please enter a valid phone number, and this is the valid phone number format. Okay, so our regex for phone is also complete. So for pin code, what we can say, let's consider very generic format for pin code, and this time I'm not going to add some regex, I'm going to use something else. So let's say I can specify that my pin code should be between 4 to 6 characters long, right? So it should be between 4 to 6 characters long, and it should have only numbers between 0 to 9. This is the rules for my pin code. So what can we do? Either we can prepare a regex, or we can simply say that because we are already having the type as number, so I'm not going to enter any kind of ABC right here, and it is not going to be considered. Numbers are already there, so instead of preparing regex, what I can do, I can specify that the minimum value of this pin code is going to be 0000, that is 4 characters, and the maximum value of this pin code is going to be 999999, and that's it. So this is what I have specified, that the minimum value should be 4 characters long, which is 0000, and the maximum value should be 6 characters long, which is 999999, right? And let me just test it once. So in case I enter a pin code which is very long, the number is too high. In case I enter a pin code which is 1 to 1, which is fine. Okay. Yeah, it is fine because I have specified a minimum as 0000. In case I specify it as 1111, then it is not going to be considered. Or let's say 1000. So the number should be at least 4 characters long, right? So in case I do it like this, 1 2 3, the number is too low. Okay. So either you can, leave the default messages as it is. Otherwise, you can also enter your own custom message. So what I can do, I can again use a property which is message when range underflow, or message when range overflow. So in case I'm under the range, or let's say I add something which is lower than the minimum. So in this case, I'm going to say that please enter correct pin code, and in case message when range overflow. So in this case also I'm going to specify the same message, which is please enter correct pin code. Okay, and that's it. So I think this is not required. Yeah, so that's it. So in case the range is underflowed, it is going to say please enter the correct pin code. In case it is an overflow, it is going to say please enter the correct pin code. Let me just check it out. So let's say the pin code, I think we have made a mistake right here. Yeah, this should not be the message when is not required. Yeah. So let's see. In case I have added a pin code 1 to 1, please enter the correct pin code. In case it's more than 6 characters like this, again please enter the correct pin code. Otherwise, if it is of 6 characters, which is 1 2 3 4 5 and then 6, this is fine. Okay, even if it is within 4 and 6 characters, it is also fine, because the minimum is 1000 and the maximum is 99999. So you can use these properties as well. I would suggest you to have a look at the documentation for this, documentation of lightning input, documentation of lightning combo box, and they have specified various properties that you can use. And in case something is not available, and if you want to add your own custom validation, you can use regex for that, and you can prepare a regex pattern by yourself, and you can find some regex patterns online as well, which are used in web development by some research, and you will be able to specify your custom validations very easily. So the rest of the things are taken care by the JS code that we have written. So this thing will also be taken care. Let me just show that to you once. In case I click on sign up, I'm not going to see anything in the console because this input is not valid. So until all these error messages are, taken care of, the code is not going to do anything. So let's say add a valid email, piper.com, and click on sign up, nothing happens. I add a valid phone, 909, any kind of dummy phone, and if I click on sign up, it is showing me. Okay, so I'm getting all the data right here, and this is how the custom validation works in LWC. So let us just check quickly if we have missed anything. I think this all is done. Yeah, this is all done. Yeah, so that's all. You can check out the code in the GitHub repository, which is Salesforce LWC concepts, and it is under the validation branch. I'll give you the link in the description of the video. And that's all for this tutorial, everyone. I hope you liked it. Let me know your feedback in the comments down below, and I'll see you in the next video. Till then, have a good day. Bye bye.